Hi everyone, we're sharing a cup of tea today with Antony Potts, our Senior Strategist. So in this video chat, while we're having our cup of tea, funky mug today, we're talking about Google AdWords remarketing and some advanced strategies for that. Do ask questions in the comments, either during this if you're watching live or afterwards, and we'll do our best to answer those for you. We do these every other week, and next week we're talking Google Shopping with Liam Ingram. So make sure you subscribe and pick us up for that one. So Anthony, you got your cup of tea? You ready?
I have my special cat mug.
Ah, cat mug. We might get some cats coming wandering in the background there as well, since you're camping at home to join us today. So good stuff.
Yes, they're around my feet at the moment.
Excellent stuff. Oh, maybe we'll get one in there. Maybe we'll get a star appearance at some point.
Yes.
Good stuff. So if I do just cover a little bit of background for anybody who doesn't know what Google AdWords remarketing is, this has been around since 2010. It's an incredibly powerful strategy in terms of bang for buck. It's great. We've had a huge amount of success with it. Lots of people kind of call it digital stalking. So you'll have noticed that after you've been to an e-commerce store or maybe to our website, that suddenly over the next week, 2 weeks, or month or so, you're seeing banners for that company. Effectively, that is because you're included in an audience that's visited a particular website or web page, and you're being targeted as part of as a target audience because of that behaviour. So this has been around a while, and today what we wanted to cover is a bit of the evolution of that and some of the more advanced strategies that we have. So Anthony, you've been working with Google Ads for how long now?
5.5 years.
Okay, that's and you're still sane, so that's quite impressive. Okay, so first of all, how do we set up remarketing? How do you do it? What's the first step? What do I need?
There are two ways to set up remarketing. You can get a tag created in AdWords that you install on the website on the pages that you want to include in your marketing audience. This is a pain because if you want to create new audiences, you need to add a new set of tags. So if you're paying by the job to your web developer, it's going to end up costing you a lot of money to do what you want to do. So the easiest way is to use your Google Analytics tag. You can create your audiences from there with a very slight change to your analytics tag.
Okay, and that's relatively new. I mean, it always used to be Google AdWords, and then you went in, you created your tag, and then you put it on the page or the section of your website where you wanted it.
Yeah.
And then more recently, I can't remember when this happened actually, but more recently, it was a function of Google Analytics, and you updated your analytics tag to take advantage of that. But then it's one tag across the entire site, which you've already got. It's a one-time upgrade, and it's done.
Yep.
Okay.
It makes it much easier to create your own custom audiences then.
Okay. So that brings us neatly onto the segmenting audiences and custom audiences. So, I mean, you call them custom audiences. What's a custom audience? Why would I want one? How does that work?
Because your generic remarketing audience is all the visitors that come to your site, but you don't want to treat all the visitors that come to your site in the same way. You've got people who, say, if you've got an e-commerce store, you've got people who come to the store and have bought something. You want to keep them in your audience. You want to keep them happy. You want to remind them about yourself, but you want to treat them differently to someone who put something in the basket but didn't buy, or someone who just had a little bit of a look around. Or, to be honest, if someone came to the site and just left again, you might not want to remarket to them at all. Yeah, but it's a different strategy depending on which people.
Okay, or it might be that you initially want to treat all of those audiences exactly the same, but target them in a segmented way to measure the response from each. So, I mean, you mentioned people who had come to the site and then left. So people who have just landed and bounced. Actually, how effective is the remarketing for that? or how if someone's visited more than 2 pages, then how do they respond to remarketing? And someone who's got as far as the shopping cart but not bought, how do they respond? And rather than lump everybody together and go, there's a result, actually splitting them up into sections and then measuring that would be much more effective. There are some rules with remarketing and audiences as well, though, aren't there? So why don't you just explain to everybody what those are in terms of audience sizes and so forth?
There's a minimum size of 100 people. The audience has got to be a minimum of 100 people before ads will start showing. Having recently spoken to a Google rep, those 100 people need to be active regularly on Google's networks. So they suggest that your ads won't actually start showing until you've got an audience of around 150 people.
Okay, so if you created a remarketing audience for visitors to one specific page that didn't get much traffic, that's just not going to work. Or not, it's going to take ages to build the audience big enough. So so I guess that's our first kind of top tip, is make sure that the audience you're building is going to get big enough, quickly enough to make this work. Otherwise, this whole thing's going to be a bust and nothing's going to happen.
I think one of the best tips for people is basically, as soon as you've installed analytics onto your site, adjust the tag and start a all visitors remarketing audience. So it's building up before you start doing whatever campaigns you're going to do to get traffic to your site.
But that in itself doesn't do anything. I mean, you could leave that running for a year and not touch it, and it doesn't affect anybody or do anything. No. But it's there. It's one of those. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah.
And that will be there. Okay. So so the segmentation. I think you were just going to show us live on desktop where these options are and what each of the options are, and maybe what type of business might want to use which option there. So if you want to just run through that.
Right. So can you see my analytics screen now? Yep. So if we come down to, we're in analytics, we've gone to admin. If you pick the property that you wish to look at, and come down to remarketing, audiences. Well, create a new audience. Okay. So the types of audience we can select. This is a new thing from Google over the last sort of few months. A smart list. They use your historical conversion data to remarket to the people that are most likely to convert on your site. Which to me sounds like a fantastic idea, but you've got to rely on Google's algorithm to pick the right people. Yeah. I think it's something personally I'd rather sort of perform that myself. But if you're a business and you're not paying someone to do your marketing, then it could be a good idea.
Okay. So as with anything, it's an automated thing. So test and see what the results are like. But it's going to be very difficult or pretty much impossible to do a like-for-like test, isn't it, with a manual campaign and something that's automated in that kind of smart list way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, as with all of this stuff, test and measure, test and measure.
Yeah. The all users is anyone who visits the site. As it says. New users is people who've not been to the site before. Yep. Returning users obviously are people who've sort of been an audience before and then come back again.
We should explain that new users could also include people who are visiting for their second time but are on a different device, or people who have their cookies, or people who visited 30, 50 days, 60 days ago, they are still classed as new visitors because the cookies expire. So new isn't everybody that's never been there before. It's just that's what Google refers to as a new user.
Yeah. This is one of my favourite ones. Users who visited a specific section of my site. So you can pick out individual pages from your sites. You can pick out individual sections. So, for instance, with our website, we can pick out people who've been to PPC pages, or people who've been to social media pages or training pages, and create an audience of those and show more relevant ads to them.
Okay, but that could equally be with an e-commerce store. That could be, I don't know if you had domain.com / dresses / product, dresses / another product. You could literally say, well, anything with / dresses / that's my dresses audience, because I know they've looked at a dresses product. Or it could be a sales page, or it could be any number of things where you're just querying the URL almost to effectively group people together to follow them with ads that are relevant to their visit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Users who completed a goal conversion. So, obviously, if someone comes onto your site and signs up for your newsletter or fills out an inquiry form, whatever you want them to do, then you can have a remarketing audience of these people. And the one below here, it's basically the same thing, but this is using the e-commerce tracking rather than goal tracking.
Okay, so that's specifically for e-commerce stores and those that are using e-commerce tracking, which is a specific area for Google Analytics, especially for those types of sites.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the other thing with these is so you can create these audiences, segment them in that way, and target them, but you can also use them as negatives as well, can't you?
Yes, you can. So you create audiences here. Once you import those into AdWords, you can combine them in any way you wish. So you can have, say, returning users who've not completed a goal. So you can have this audience minus this audience so sort of people who've been to the site more than once and not bought anything. You might want to show them sort of a slightly different ad, or see how they behave.
Yeah, absolutely, and then you can measure the two. But yeah, I mean, some e-commerce stores. I mean, we work with a number of fashion e-commerce stores, and obviously there's quite a lot of repeat purchases there. So you probably want to remarket to everybody in a kind of fairly open way to everybody. There are other e-commerce stores we work with where I don't know, for a larger purchase like, I don't know, a TV. If you've been to the site and not bought one, then you're probably still a good target, because that transaction takes a period of time before someone buys. They don't just search Google and then land and go, there's the TV I want, and they buy.
Yeah.
Most people research over a period of time, and that's where the remarketing fits, is in that gap during what we call the search funnel. A whole other video on that elsewhere, and I'll put a link in post-production in the chat, and I'll put it in the chat in the notes underneath the YouTube video as well later. But yeah, that remarketing fits in there. Now, if you have been to the site and you have bought a TV, there's a very good chance that you are not about to buy another TV. So there's not really much point in me wasting Google's inventory and having a lower click-through rate and response, or worse still, wasting money on clicks for you clicking my ads again, because there's no chance you're buying a TV. Now, if you want to follow me with remarketing ads to sell me something else that you might do, special offer on a bracket for my TV or a HDMI cable or something like that, then go for it. That's a bit different. But don't follow me with TV ads when I've just bought one from you, because that's just nuts. Yeah. That would just annoy me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So we finished with that screen.
Okay, excellent. And one other thing, and this is something that I know personally I get really annoyed by, frequency capping.
Yes. Some people just don't have the mentality that bombarding someone with your ad is actually going to be more of a hindrance than a help. You can choose to only show your ad on a certain number of times per day per person. It could be per campaign or per ad group or per ad. So you can limit the number of times, which I suggest about 5 to 10 as the maximum number of ads you want to show, the same ad you want to show a person in a day.
Okay, but again, test and measure and see what
yeah.
works. Yeah. But there is, and it's going to depend on what market you're in and what your audience is like online. I mean, you know, there are some audiences that don't spend a lot of time online, where actually, you know, if you show them 10 ads a day, that's probably quite a lot of the inventory they're going to see. Whereas if they're, you know, some other part of the demographic, they could be looking at hundreds of pages every day, and actually 10 means they're barely seeing your ads because they see so many over a period of time. So you must always, with this stuff, it's very, very subjective, and you should always test and measure what works for your campaign and your audience and your ads, and look at the data and see what happens from there. The worst example I think I saw with frequency capping or lack of it was some personal injury lawyers that I'd been on the sites as part of my professional engagement, not a personal one, and I got followed for a month. Literally 90% of the ads I saw were from 2 websites, you know, and it was just absolutely smashing me over the head with this brand. And just like, you could have achieved the same thing with probably a quarter of your budget, and B, you didn't make me want to come back to your website. You made me never ever want to go there again, actually, and it was just way over the top. So yeah, absolutely do be very careful with that, with frequency capping.
I think one of the things as well you want to sort of consider that if you're doing, you know, if you're a B2B business, then you don't want to pester people when they're doing personal stuff. So, you know, you might want to not show on video sites or gaming sites or something like that. Yeah, you pick and choose, you know, where your ads are shown as well as who your audience is.
Yeah, I mean that's more about the campaign settings rather than the remarketing audience. That part, isn't it? And maybe we'll do a whole other hangout another day on remarketing and actually running a campaign rather than the segmenting. But there's a ton of stuff you can do. You know, we'll do another one sometime with Liam Ingram. I suspect about dynamic remarketing, where you can follow people with banners which have products in the banners that are on your website that person has looked at, which is tremendously powerful, and that can be done with Google Shopping, Google AdWords, and hooking up remarketing as well. So you know, there's tons you can do with it, and way too much we can cover in one session here. But more on those, and subscribe and let us know if you want some info on that. We can certainly help you out. So just to summarise then, remarketing, build your audience on the website. I think recommend the analytics tag now rather than the Google Ads one. Both end up with the same thing, but you know, one implementation of it is a hell of a lot easier than messing about, and then you can fix that in analytics. Segment your start with a general audience and measure that, or if you are getting lots and lots of traffic, maybe segment it right in the early days, but measure that, and then evolve that as you get more data, and maybe segment those audiences a bit smaller as you go. Measure the response as well. Be careful with frequency capping, and try not to annoy people. You know, gentle reminders, not a big hammer. Okay, excellent stuff. So, sorry, you were going to say something?
I've just sort of recalled sort of one of the things I've said. The advantage with using analytics is as soon as you set up your remarketing audience in analytics, it's available on AdWords, but you do have to link your AdWords and analytics accounts together.
Okay. I'll put a link into. We did a video on that before, or a blog post. I'll put a link in the comments about that, just so you know how to do that as well. But yeah, Another top tip. We're full of top tips today. Brilliant. we should have a cup of tea or something. Excellent.
Yeah.
So great. So everyone watching, if you do have comments, do ask them. We'll respond to those as best we can, or contact us via the website. There's links all over the place. And make sure you subscribe for future editions. And if there's something you want to see us talking about that you're confused by with Google AdWords or SEO or social media, user experience on your website, Google Shopping, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of that stuff. They're all methods we use to make clients more sales online. Do ask questions and get in contact if you need some help. And we'll see you next time. But until then, cup of tea. Brilliant.
Cheers.
Thanks, Anthony. Cheers.